Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie Rey and I'm an artist and yoga teacher. And today I have a watercolour tutorial for you. And we're going to paint a super cute little milkshake. This is a strawberry milkshake, but you can choose whatever milkshake you like. And I'm going to show you how to sketch it out to start with, or you can go straight onto the paper without any pencil if you're feeling confident today. So yeah, let's get started. I'm going to use a scrap piece of watercolour paper. This is 300 GSM and it's cold pressed. I'm using two paintbrushes. I've got the Graduate Daler Rowney round number 10. And then I've got a smaller round brush, which is a number 8, but I'm not sure where this one is from. I'm using some Crawford Black tube watercolour paints. And this is my palette that I use quite often. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a mess. But I've just got out some red, yellow, a little bit of orange. I have got a little bit of white in there that I've used previously, so I'm going to reactivate that by adding some water to it and a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's grab a pencil and we're going to sketch out the rough shape of our quite classic milkshake. Okay, so starting with the glass itself. Make sure you've got plenty of space at the top for your whipped cream and your cherry. And you can choose how big you go with this. I'm going to start with a U, quite a big U shape. Join those two together with a slight curve. You want to keep it quite light, so if you end up going too dark with your pencil, make sure you've got a rubber to hand and you can rub away any really dark lines. It is best to do this without pencil lines, I think, whenever you're doing watercolour, just because you can't really rub pencil away when you do watercolour because you end up picking up a lot of the pigment. So practice doing it without drawing lines as well. All right, so I'm gonna take this a little further down, not to a point, but I just want it to be a little bit deeper. And then I want to add the stem of the glass. So it's an oval shape. So I'm going to place the oval shape overlapping, and then I can rub out those pencil marks and I can join up the edges around there. And then I want a bigger, same thing here, a bigger oval shape, slightly thinner than that first one. I will figure out how to link a template below. I've never done that before, but I will try. So hopefully there will be a template below. Okay, so just getting rid of the lines that go into that second little bit of the glass. Okay, and don't worry if it doesn't look like this. We are playing. Now I want to make it a little bit wider at the top. So I've just taken it out slightly and then I can get rid of those. And don't worry if it's not even. Okay. Draw a dot in the middle at the bottom, and from this dot I'm going to draw some lines reaching up towards the top, fanning out to create the ridges in the glass. Okay, now for our whipped cream. Let's draw a little circle or an oval somewhere at the top, slightly to the side. That's where our cherry's going to go. And we could always just draw out the top of a heart shape there. And then from this point, we're going to do some squiggly lines. So we're going to go out and up and then down. Make the next one a little bit bigger, all the way to join that. Now that is just that little bit too deep, so I'm going to rub that out and make it less deep, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side, so we get this kind of ripple effect. And we can draw just some very faint lines. You know, when you've got like the spiral of the cream on the top, that's what we're going for, but we can use the paint to create that spiral as well. But I just find it helpful to have a few lines drawn so that I know roughly where it's going, and then we can cover up the bottom of the cherry. So it looks like the cherry's been placed inside the cream, and then at the back we can have a straw poking out here. So right, let's get painting. So I've got my tub of water. I'm going to start with my bigger brush, and I'm going to start with making this background colour, and you can do that, it's optional, you don't have to do that. I just like to stylize it in that way. I've got this little dot at the bottom here where I'm just going to rub out any dark lines. As I said, you can rub them out, so especially the ones down the side, rub them out just a little bit so that you can still see them. Anything that's going to be quite light in colour, so the cream, maybe the bottom of the glass, you don't want really dark lines because it will ruin it. So very lightly rub them out, enough so that you can still see what you're painting. There we go. Okay. So going in with my big brush, make sure you've got tissue to hand. I'm going to start with a very light yellow. So I've got a little bit of lemon yellow, so dragging a little bit of the paint from that puddle. I'm going to keep adding a little bit more water just to make sure that it's light, and then I can test it out on a scrappy piece of paper and just see what colour I've got, and I like that, that's good. So right at the bottom here, I'm going to go in just underneath and around the side of the glass. I'm going to put more water on to make it nice and light. And I'm going to drag it out a little bit so it gets lighter towards the edge. This is just a little bit of a stylized thing that I like to do. And I've just added a little bit of yellow onto the bottom of the glass as well, and I might end up covering that with pink, and that's fine. Let's do a little bit of the same towards the top, around by the cherry. I'm going to go around the cherry, and I'm not going to go straight into my cream. I want to keep that white for now, but just like I did at the bottom, if you do get any drips elsewhere, you can give them a dab. Okay, so I'm using water to spread the colour around a little bit more. I'm going to get a little bit of the yellow ochre, and I'm going to tap. So just watch out for any other paintings that you've got lying around because they will get splashed. So I'm going to tap the end of my brush and add a little bit of that yellow ochre. And then I can do the same with a little bit of the pink. And if there's anything that you don't like, if it looks a bit too orange, you can go in and you can dab it away, and then we can go over that later if we want to. So that was just, yeah, a bit too much there. But I'm gonna let that dry whilst I move on to my glass. So using some red, I'm going to water that red down, and if you've got quite a deep red, you might want to put a little bit of pink, a little bit of white in there just to make it a little pinker. But let's go in really light with our colour, plenty of water to dilute it. We're going to start on this very edge, and I've got a little bit of the yellow running off, so, and I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to start at the bottom of the glass, just down here, and we're going to be running the tip of the brush up the side. So starting at the bottom, let's get a little bit more red on there. Starting at the bottom, oh look, you can see it's starting to bleed. That's really nice. We're going to keep that there, and we're just going to drag it up the side to the very top of the glass. And it's okay if it runs off slightly. Now, from the top of the glass, I've just wet my brush, I've got rid of some of the excess paint, and I'm going to use what's already on the paper to do the next chunk of the glass, but I'm going to leave a white gap, and that's kind of like the ridge. So where your pencil line is, you're almost painting around the pencil line. I'm going to fill this little chunk in. I'm going to add a little bit more of that reddy pink, and I'm going to, again, I want to leave a little bit of the white for the ridge of the glass. So that's how we get these lines. We want to let the paper do the talking there. So I'm leaving another gap here. I'm going to join them up at the top. And we continue that journey all the way across. And if you do end up painting those lines in, then get yourself a clean brush with some water on, run it down, grab your tissue nice and quickly, and then dab away to pick up the paint. So I'm going a little bit quicker than I would if I was doing this, if I was, you know, doing this as a painting, but because I want to keep the video quite short, I am going a bit quicker. So we take it all the way along, so we end up with these lovely ridges in the glass where the light is showing. And you can always make the top of the glass a little bit lighter, and you can use whatever colour you like. I've gone with strawberry, but you could do chocolate, you could do vanilla. Right, I'm going to go into the bottom of the glass, and I'm going to add a little bit more red just to darken it up. And because my paper's still quite wet, I can let that run up the glass, and so it looks like it's nice and concentrated at the bottom. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the pink to that yellow at the top. So I've kept it wet. So I've gone in with quite a lot of water here because I want these little moments to be able to add drops of the other colour into each other. So I could actually go along and add just a little bit of yellow down here. I don't want too much, but just these little accents and little highlights. Now I'm going to add a bit more water here so that I can let the strawberry run out. And I'm using the tip of the brush and I'm kind of twiddling it round so that it leaves little areas that are darker. Right, a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's go around the bottom of the glass, a little shadow there. And we can do a little tap. Anything that kind of spreads really far out, get your tissue and dab it away. Okay, so you could add a little bit of orange in there. I actually haven't used the orange yet, and that's fine. I'm going to go in with a little bit more red, and I want to add a bit more red down the bottom here. Okay, let's go into the cherry. So I can use a little bit of the orange with the red here, and that'd be nice. We want to leave a highlight, so on the side, if you think about the cherry, we want to leave this little gap. So I'm gonna, with the tip of my brush, draw out a little kind of kidney bean shape. Got a bit too much paint on my brush there, so I'm gonna wash it away, give it a dab on the tissue, and then I can use what is already there to paint in my cherry. And I'm not worrying if it runs off into what we've, runs off into that little bit at the top. I'm going to let that happen, and then I can let that dry, and I can go back in and really deepen up the colours of the cherry, which is what I did there. I waited for the whole thing to dry and then went in and added a bit more. So as you go, if you think that it's starting to, as it dries, it does get lighter. So if you think that's happening, you can always go in with more paint and start to add that in and just deepen your layers. Right, let's do the bottom. A nice light pink colour to fill in the bottom of the glass, and then using what we've already got on our brush to finish the bottom, because we don't want to add too much colour. I think maybe I put a bit too much pink on there, but really, it is up to you. How does it feel for you? There wouldn't really be that much pink at the bottom. You could always add a little bit of blue, glass, anything that is glass, a blue colour works quite nicely. I'm leaving a little bit of white between the bottom of this little stem here and the base, just so that it separates it a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit of pink on my brush and dab a little bit more water so it gets nice and watery. And then anything that has happened, any splashes, I can get rid of them. Okay, right, just going to pop up the top here with a bit of yellow. So splashing is messy, so anything that is in the way, cover it up. Any paintings that you've got that you don't want splashes all over, put them out of the way, because I end up doing that all the time. I love to splash paint, but yeah, comes at a cost sometimes. Right, let's get this ice cream done. I'm going with a vanilla ice cream, so I'm not being shy with my colours. I want to show, vanilla. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's white, but we want more we want a little bit more colour in here. So I've got some yellow on my brush. I'm going to dilute it a little bit. And inside the ridges, I'm going to drag that down. So this is, if you think about the shadows, the bits that stick out, the bumps, those are the bits in your cream that where the light is catching, so they would be lighter. And then the bits in the middle, the ridges, the swirl, they would be slightly darker. But that is too harsh for me, so I've wet my brush and I'm gonna, just around the edge, keep wetting it. I'm gonna let it kind of come out and bleed a little bit, but then I can go in with a tissue and dab away any excess, anything that I think is a bit too much, a bit too harsh. Right, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of pink, and I'm going to go just underneath the cherry to add a highlight. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow there. And then using the very tip of my smaller brush, I'm going to draw the lines for... So I'm going to wait for this side to dry before I do that. But we can go in with the straw. Right, using your thin brush again, let's draw around the straw. I'm going for a pink. It's a bit too thick. And I'm going to draw around my straw. And then whatever's at the top, I put quite a bit of paint at the top here, you know, like those yeah, fun kind of candy straw. So I'm going in with a light pink, but I can always darken that colour if I want to. Cute. So everything's a little bit wet now. So I'm going to let it dry and then I can start adding in just a little bit more detail and finish it off. So now it's dried, so I'm going to add in the cherry. There are some little wet bits still, but I'm just going to avoid them as best I can. So I'm getting some red watercolour and some orange on my brush. I'm going to go in quite concentrated because I want to finish the cherry. Remembering where that little gap was, where that little white gap was, mine on this one has disappeared a little bit. I can still see a little bit of the white, so I am going to redraw around that just to make sure that I do leave a gap. But yeah, had a little error earlier and I lost it, but add some water, clean water. So, but if that happens to you, you get clean water on your brush, you run it over the area that you don't want paint, and then you use your tissue very quickly to dab away. And yeah, you end up getting the white back. Depending on how much watercolour you've used, sometimes you get a little bit of a tinge. A tinge? Tint? Hint? I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going in with my cherry. So you can see the background has dried now, so it's not bleeding into the back. I'm just going to make it a little bit rounder. Yeah, because it's quite dark, the paint, I can make it even darker if I want to, just to make it look really voluptuous. Okay, and then using my very small brush and the tip. I'm going to draw the stem. So from that little ridge in the heart, I'm going to draw a line, a nice curved line out to the side. And they have a little bit of a bobble on the end where there might have been another cherry attached. And there we go. And I quite like it as it is, but what I would do is get a little bit of a lighter pink, and I would draw around the stem of the glass, the bottom here, because there's pencil, I can see pencil line, so I'd rather cover it up with a colour that complements the painting and one that we've used. So with a steady hand, we go around the pencil line, very light. I like to do it in little strokes. That works for me, and it's all right. It's a little bit, if it's a little bit wobbly. And then I'm going to get a darker, like a pinky red, and I'm going to go around the base of the glass. And you can decide whether you want to outline. I quite like not outlining. Okay, so I've just made a little mistake there, so I'm going to show you. Adding water to what I just did, and I'm dabbing it away. And this side is just looking a little bit dark as well, so let's get rid of some of that. That is the beauty of watercolour. So, right, now I need to redraw my stem in, and I could use this lighter pink actually to outline. So I don't want to do too much outlining, but just where I can see pencil mark, I'm going to add a little bit here and there. And you might want to just bring the base of the glass down a little bit. And then, yeah, I just want to add, there's a bit too much there, so I've just added a little shadow on this side, and I can take some of that and add it around the bottom of the glass. This is all from my mind. I'm not looking at a picture as I do this, but you can use a picture, of course. I'm just going for it in my mind, what I think a strawberry milkshake looks like. And I really like this colour here that I've got the straw, so rather than making it darker like I did on this one, I'm going to leave it at this nice baby pink. And there we go. Now, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of that lemon yellow, just a touch on the tip of my small brush so that I can finish this side of the ice cream. So these are the little bits of detail that we want, and we might just darken them up a little, just doing a few lines here and there. Lovely. And there we have it. And if you wanted to add a few more red splashes, you could go in, might make this a little bit darker over here, but I kind of like it as it is, so I don't really want to ruin it. Might add a little bit of yellow in there. You can go over it and add extra bits if you feel like it needs it. Less is more sometimes, so how does it feel for you? Lovely. And there we have our strawberry milkshake. Everyone, have a great day. Let me know what you thought of this tutorial in the comments, and please do send me photos of your milkshakes. Thank you. Bye.